What's going on, guys? Dr. Genzo here with another deck profile for you. Today we have you'll notice it's a bit different setting here because we got a new deck profile for you today, and it's actually one of my own, so we're filming this at my Sanctum Sanctorum here. So today we actually have a deck that I top forward with recently at a locals, and it's OGDOADIC with Eldritch splashed in. It's a work in progress. It's going to get a lot... I'm trying to make it a lot better, but it's still doing wonderfully well, better than I thought it'd be. Just the staying power of the snakes is crazy. The matches I had were against a Cyberdark Dogmatica back row deck, but I only saw the Dogmatica back row part of it, so I guess that's kind of relevant. Phantom Knights was my last matchup. I ended up winning that in time. Dragon Maids was my only loss. Make sure to go see that deck profile. That's it was against Aaron from Top Tier Gaming Yugioh. He recently put up a profile of his. He ended up winning that tournament, and he ended up putting a profile up for the Dragon Maids for that. And then finally, well, those were the only three matchups that I had, really. The other guy didn't really want to play in round 3. But yeah, so it's OGDOADIC. They're fun. It's snakes. And yeah, let's get into it. Alright folks, let's go ahead and get into the profile now. It's going to be a bit different than my usual interview type style. It's just going to be me here explaining, so it's a bit different than what I normally do, but bear with me. So first off, it's OGDOADIC. You got to run the 3 Nunu. He is a fantastic card. So good. This card is free extension. It's basically free if you control no monsters. You control an OGDOADIC. You can special him from the graveyard. Banish him when he leaves the field, but if you use him as Xyz material, obviously, then you get to keep him. He pitches himself from hand to pitch a dark, which we'll go into later, because he's basically a 1-card combo if they don't interrupt that. He's a 1-card King of the Feral Imps, which is nice. And in a format with a bunch of 1-card starters, that's very good. And yeah, just the extension, getting him out the grave for either tribute fodder or Xyz fodder or anything like that. Yeah, he's just a fantastic card. Pairs well with Noya, the OGDOADIC Remnant. They're both OGDOADIC Remnants. There's a light version and a dark version. She has the same effect as him from the hand. You can pitch her, except she pitches a light type. She doesn't pitch a dark type reptile. So the dark type reptiles pitch themselves to pitch lights. The light type reptiles pitch themselves to pitch darks. And whenever she's no more specialed, she searches an OGDOADIC spell or trap. That's basically it. She's also got a big butt, 2k defense, very nice. And yeah, you're mainly using her for your curse combo. She gets you Water Lily in your hand, because Water Lily is a busted card in this deck. It's fantastic. And yeah, she's just there. I'm running her at 2, not at 3, because 3 is a little cloggy. You don't want to see it in your hand a lot. You want to dump her off other things. But if you see it in your opening hand and you have to play her, don't be afraid to. Because, again, that search is awesome, and they'll be too scared to negate it because people are like, what do OGDOADIC do? Well, you'll see. Next up, we have the new Reptilian card that came out in Burst of Destiny, I believe. Yep, Burst of Destiny. Reptilian Coatl. This card is insane. So if you control a Dark-type reptile, you can special her from the hand. She's a level 4 tuner, and if she's used for the synchro of a reptile monster, you can treat it as a non-tuner as well. And I believe she also does something with 0 attack. Oh yeah, then if your opponent controls any monsters with 0 attack, you can special them up to any number of Reptilian monsters from your hand. You don't really care about that because you're not really running any other Reptilians. Just her, because she's just free extension. And that level 4 tuner slot is amazing because you can either Xyz with her, you can synchro with her into like Final Sigma because you're running some level 8s, or you can run, or you can go to like Borlid Savage or the new Reptilian monster, which I'm running right now. Yeah, and just Link fodder as well. She's just fantastic. She's such a good card. Next up, we have the one-ofs. One big boy. You always want to run your big boy. He's your Zeus. He's the guy that his effect is once while he's face up on the field, you can send any number, or you can send all monsters not special from the graveyard to the graveyard. So basically, if anything's not special from the graveyard, he kills it, which is very nice. Sorry, adjusting my mat here for the shot a little bit. There we go. So yeah, he's pretty nice. And then it's once while he's face up on the field, so if he gets sent and then you bring him back, you can do it again. And also, if he's in the grave, you contribute 3 monsters to summon him, which is pretty cool. A lot of the big OGDOADICs you can special them from the grave by tributing stuff. as you'll see here. So we have one curse and one Amnesia. And these are the only big ones you're running. I don't run Alert, and I'll explain why. Alert's a dead draw. Amnesia isn't really a dead draw, especially when you have her in the grave. Because Curse is just free. He's a free special from the grave by tributing a monster. You can special him, and then once he's specialed, you can special summon another level 4 lower OGDOADIC from your grave. So you'll get your Noya if you use this effect to dump itself. And then Amnesia is just good because if your opponent sends a card from hand or deck to the grave, you can special summon any light or dark reptile from your grave with no restrictions. So you can summon him back. And then also, if they special summon from the grave, say with like DPE or something, you can send a card they control to the grave, non-target, which is also incredible. It relies on your opponent to do stuff, which I don't particularly like, but at the end of the day, it's also a pseudo floodgate, which I enjoy. And plus, she requires 2 tributes to summon from the grave. So if you have a problem monster on the board or something like that, you can just get it off the board. And then also, if you're running like Layer Darkness, which I am, you can tribute your opponent's stuff as well. Curse gets them something out of their grave, but it's effects negated. So going first, he's amazing. Going second or third, not that great unless they don't have anything in their grave. But at the end of the day as well, he's it's difficult, but the value that he gets you in the deck is just awesome. And again, since they're sent to the grave, you'll have them for next turn if they somehow break your board, which is what this deck's all about. The staying power of the deck is like, you're never, even if you're mostly going to be top decking in this deck, but at the same time, you have something to do because most of the stuff in the grave activates in the grave, and if they haven't gotten rid of it because you stack your grave with something like Snake Rain or everything, then you're pretty much set. So we have one of the discard outlets, Zoha. Here's your combo with Nunu. Use Nunu, dump him. His effect says if he's in your grave, you can pitch a card from your hand to the grave for cost, add him back to your hand. And so you do that, you special summon Nunu, normal him, that's King of the Fair Limbs right there, and you get your free search. Now, I would run the other light one, I just haven't found a good slot for him yet, I just haven't found the room for the light version of him. But the dark version of him is great because, again, it's a 1-card combo with Nunu. And he's also a discard outlet, and a lot of your effects activate in the grave, and you don't want those big guys in your hand. And also, if you're running like Eldritch stuff, which I am, you don't want that in your hand either. You'd rather pitch it off and then get its effects in the grave. So yeah, getting him banished isn't very fun, but at the same time, having a discard outlet in your deck to basically just stack your grave and just manipulate your hand is just pretty cool. Like, it's very good. All right, next up, we have a Layer of Darkness engine here. I'm going by monsters, spells, and traps here, so we're just going to go with monsters first. 2 Airmans, we're not running 3 because 3 is a little cloggy. Diablo's self-explanatory. It's Layer of Darkness, and you're tributing stuff off, including your own stuff, so even if... And you have your discard outlet, so you can pitch him off to the grave, and then when you tribute one of your dark reptiles for, like, Curse or something, you just get a free special of him to go into, like, rank 8 plays or mess with your opponent's hand, which is nice. And since he specials himself in the grave, he's unaffected by the big guy sending everything, so you're basically just in a good spot. Next up, 2 Eldritch. We're running Eldritch. You gotta run 2 Eldritch. You can run 1, you can run 2. I prefer 2 just in case they banish 1. And yeah, again, that discard outlet's really good because it puts him in the grave. So if you have L land, you can search him, then pitch him off with Zoha to get Zoha back, and then pitch off the L land, etc., etc. It's just very good, very good synergy with a lot of the engines here. Now, of course, since we're scum and I gave in, I'm sorry, folks, we're running the DPE engine. We're only running 1 Fusion Destiny, though, since this deck can go into Verte really, really easy. And if they negate the Verte, then it's not really that big of an issue because you can wipe it off the board with the big guy, or you can tribute it for other stuff, like you can tribute it for the OGDOADIC effects in the grave, so that Verte is not staying on board regardless if it gets negated or not. And then these aren't really an issue either, because even if you draw them, you can pitch them, and the Verte gets negated or something, you can pitch them off to the graveyard with your discard outlet, and then get their effects in the graveyard anyways. Like, you just get a free draw 2 with him, and then he's just a pretty good card in and of himself. So yeah, now we're moving on to spells, because we saw the Fusion Destiny there. You're running Painful Choice at 3. So yeah, Snake Rain. You activate this card, discard a card for cost, send 4 reptiles from your deck to the grave. Don't have to be different names. You can send 3 Nunu if you want. This is basically stack your graveyard. This is basically your painful choice at 3. And the fact that this card is in this deck and legal at 3 is just amazing to me. And not saying it needs to be banned, it doesn't, because OGDOADICs aren't really doing much right now. But at the same time, getting to stack your grave with basically just self-recurring stuff is just incredible. I will give it that. And I need to get some collector's rares of this. Next up, the Water Lily. This card's kind of busted. So if you don't know what it does, it dumps a reptile monster from your deck to the grave. And if you have 5 different reptiles with different names in your grave, albeit by SNEK or something like that, you get to special summon one of them for free. With no restrictions, any. So you can summon the big guy, which is going to be your main play, usually. Yeah. But you can only activate 1 per turn. But yeah, I'd hate seeing this opening hand and not seeing any OGDOADICs, because then I have to use it to get something in grave in order to make a play, which is what happened against Aaron from top tier. And not really fun to be in that situation, but at the same time, that just kind of shows the versatility of the deck. Like, even if you brick, you're still able to do something. Like, I was able to survive a lot longer in our match than I should have, in all honesty. And that's not because of him, that's because of the the recursive power of my deck with the Lich, which was the main reason I survived. Lich, OGDOADICs, just being able to recur everything. Running one of the new cards, Serpent Strike. I actually took out the trap for this. This card is kind of good. It basically lets you tag out a light reptile on your field or hand for a dark reptile in your grave, or vice versa. And then if your opponent, I believe, sends... if during the main phase of a monster is sent to your opponent's grave, you can dump something. You can dump an OGDOADIC from your deck, so it's okay. It's a continuous spell, which is nice. And the only reason I'm running it is because the turn you activate Water Lily, like if you open hand Water Lily, you're not going to search it with Noya, and then you don't want to search the trap with Noya because that's a little late, so you need to be a bit faster. So this is the fastest thing I could think of. And then also the fact that it lets you tag out, ignoring conditions as well. So like. Well, not ignoring summoning conditions, but like no restrictions on which reptile you summon. So it's good because if you really want that extra speed, or if they negate something, you can be like, okay, search this, activate it, send a light reptile, send a Nunu to the grave, send another Nunu that I happen to draw 2 of or something to the grave, or send a curse to the grave in my hand or on the field or something, and then bring out big guy, or... No, he's a light, so you'd have to send a dark. So send the Noya that search this to bring out the big guy, etc., etc. Just it's good. I mean, it's a nice card. Not really what they needed per se, but it still gives them a little bit extra speed, and also it puts a little extra pressure on the opponent. I've never really had that card go through before because they're too scared to deal with it, which is another advantage running that card. Next up, 2 land. You're not playing 3. 3's a little clunky. 2's great. 2 is fantastic. 3 prosperities because I'm rich, not really, because I traded a Drytron core for these and they were about 100 and now they've jumped up, which is kind of crazy. I would trade these in a heartbeat for Brave probably, but I don't think I know anyone that has Brave that is willing to get rid of it. But yeah, Brave would go well in this deck. I don't have it in the deck obviously, as you see in the profile. But yeah, if you want to run Brave in this deck, you definitely can, because your deck doesn't use a normal summon. Your normal summon is the guy that gets you King of the Frail Limbs, like, or if you're forced to, you can normal summon Noya, but that's about it. To get your spell or trap search. Other than that, though, the deck is just pretty much fine. Yeah, but Pot of Prosperity, you don't really go into your extra deck too much. King of the Frail Limbs aside. And just being able to Pot of Duality and still special summon is just fantastic. Next up, 1 Layer of Darkness. Run a Layer of Darkness engine, gotta run Layer of Darkness. It's great, and plus, it makes everything dark on the board. And also, the cool thing about this is that when your OGDOADICs tribute to special summon themselves out of the grave, you can tribute your opponent's stuff. So it's not just with the Layer of Darkness stuff, it's with your opponent's stuff. This is mainly for going second, and also to bait out stuff. So like if they have a DPE on the board, they better blow this up or else that DPE is not going to be there anymore. Especially if you snake rained and you just have your graveyard stacked. Next up, Mass Change 2. This format is very... Dark Law is very non-conducive to this format. and people don't like seeing him. So that's just a little extra. Again, that's for mainly going first to interrupt their stuff. That's a little backup play in case you don't have anything else. And also, it's kind of funny because I got to search with a Shadow Mist that I special summoned off the trap whenever I was playing the trap. It's kind of funny. Story for a different time, though. Call by. It's call by. You know it. Negates hand traps, negates DPE, negates your life, basically. And then now we're going to get into the traps. 2 Conch, 1 Walk, 3 Scarlets. Typical lineup for Eldritch. You're not really running any of the other Elixirs, so don't bother. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you get 2 pops, 1 banish, all that good stuff. And they're also good because, again, your discard outlet in the deck, which is why I put this in, is you pitch these off to get the guy back to hand, go into your reptile plays, and then at the end phase you banish, and then you get back row. So you're basically ending on the big dude, maybe DPE or Omninesia, and like 3 back row set, 2 of them being Eldritch traps, which is just great because I get you an extra monster and also either a banish or a pop, which is great, which is very nice in this format. 3 Imperm, it's Imperm, it's great. It's not Veiler, it's Imperm. I'm not really sure about this card. Cut it, don't cut it. I mean, I needed some interruption in the deck, and this was what I could think of. And I mean, it's come in clutch a couple times. I mean, it's definitely better. Against some decks, it's better to just wait until you're going second in order to use it, because they either bait it out or they get negated. Like, if they have a DPE, it's just like, cool, standby Imperm. And it's like, oh, well, I gotta use my stuff now, you know? And then finally, 2 Evenlies, remaining Evenlies, because we're scum as well. Evenly. Great card. It definitely got me game against Dogmatica, back row, stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a fantastic card, and it definitely breaks boards in order for you to start comboing off, because this deck is kind of combo-centric, but not really. It's more control, but there's still combo aspects to it, which is what I like. It's a little mix of both, which is very good, and it's a very interesting deck. Next up, extra deck. We're gonna go by monster type. Really hope this thing isn't crooked. Gosh dang it. This way. Here we go. Alright. We got 1 Dark Law for our Mass Change 2, and then we got 1 DPE because we're scumbags, and that's it, and that's the fusions for you. You're not really running any reptile fusions, you're not really running anything else. Synchros, this is where things get a little interesting. Reptilian Melusine. Alright, Melusine is very interesting. If you use only reptiles to synchro summon her, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, which is just funny. And then if your opponent activates a monster effect while she's on the board, you can target a monster on the board and make it 0, which is conducive to some reptilian effects, which is pretty cool. And then if she's destroyed, the specimen card is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card. You can add a reptile monster from your deck to your hand, so she protects herself, searches as well. 2,500, 2,800. She's pretty good. I don't really go into her too much, but she's just there to kind of, you know, be there. Stick with the reptile motif, and plus, she has her uses. I mean, it's basically indestructible if you do it right. Borreload Savage, you're running level 4s and a level 4 tuner. Might as well run Savage. And then Geomathemate Final Sigma. I go into this guy more than all the others because you go into Curse, you go into Noya, you special Coatl, then you synchro Coatl with Curse. That's an 8 and a 4. That's a free Final Sigma. And people just don't expect that. They're just like, oh, I was not expecting that. And most people can't get around an unaffected 3K card. Like, even Nib, like, like Nib can't tribute it off. I mean, they can still kill it by battle. They can just suicide with the Nib. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're not wiping my entire board. Like, I still have some protection here. Next up, Xyz. 2 King of the Feral Imps. He's great. He's fantastic. Such a good card. Not once per turn because he's an old card and we like those. Searches any reptile from your deck to your hand. Any reptile. Any at all. Fantastic card. And yeah, again, not once per turn. Just fantastic. More rank 4s. We got Exciton. Just for that little extra oomph. You know, I've gone into him once to blow up boards, but that's about it. But yeah, he's still a viable card. He's still a great card. Next up, we got some rank 8s. We got Hope Harbinger and Dingirsu. He negates spells. It's great. You're not really going into your rank 8s too much in this deck because you're going into, you know, Verte and tributing off stuff more. Again, you don't really care about your extra deck too much in this deck, but at the same time, these are just good to have. And then finally, Zeus. You're running a lot of Xyz. King of Feral Imps, especially. Might as well have that extra oomph as well. Exiton, and then after Exiton, Zeusum again, just to be funny, I guess. And then finally, we got some links. We got Reptilian Echidna. She's fantastic. If you don't know what she does, on Link Summon, she can target a monster on the board, make it 0 permanently, which is what all the Reptilian stuff does. And then, at the cost of locking you into reptiles from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, you can search for reptiles from your deck to your hand equal to the number of monsters on the board with 0 attack that your opponent controls, I think. And that's a pretty good effect. I don't really find myself using it too much because of the lock. But I also don't find myself going into her too much because of the lock. But making things 0 thing doesn't lock you. So if they have like a Nibiru or something, you can just make it 0 and just be like, it's pretty cool, pretty funny. And also it's good link fodder if you have a Nunu on the board, because nothing in this deck locks you into reptiles except for Nunu. And he only locks you while he's on the board. So if you get him off the board, you're free to special summon again, which is nice. Next up, Verte, because we're scum and we play DPE. Gotta play Verte. Nightmare Unicorn gets problem monsters like Retaliating Sea and stuff off the board, and you just link with it into Nightmare Unicorn. Gets your free spin as well. You don't really care about discarding much in this deck. Then Boar Sword for the OTK. Not really running Appaloosa or any of the going first Link 4s, because they're going to be gone if you use the big guy's effect. That was the issue I had with the deck, was like, if you play combo variant and you get out all these big rank 8s and everything, they're going to be gone, because if you wipe the board with the big guy, if you need to, then all your other negates are going to be gone, because it non-targets sins. It doesn't destroy anything, so you can't protect it either. So that's why your boss monster links are mainly going second. If I could, I'd probably put Goddess in here. I probably need to find a slot to put Goddess in, because Goddess is just great in this deck as well, because getting 4 bodies on the board isn't really that hard. And yeah, that's basically the deck. I'm not going to zoom back in on my face now because stuff. Side deck's still a work in progress, so I'm not really going to do that, but I will say, I'll give you a little sneak peek here. We got 3 skill drains, because skill drain's crazy this format. We'll just go into my side deck, why not? It's a work in progress, so bear with me here. 3 skill drain, because skill drain's fantastic this format, and plus you're running a graveyard deck, so you don't really care. 2 Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre's seen a lot of play now, especially with the Brave Engine. Yeah, Ghost Ogre, kind of busted, especially against the Brave Engine. It's fantastic. Reptilian Lamia. Okay, this is a good gun second card. It's a good extender. If you don't know what it does, it's a level 2 tuner. If your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon her from your hand by targeting a monster and making it 0. And then then take damage equal to the monster's original attack. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target up to 2 face-up monsters on the field, change their attack to 0, and that's all permanent. So it's good going second, because not only is it an extender, but it also puts pressure on your opponent by making their stuff 0, and so it's not going to stay on the board. Next up, we have Mind Control, because you tribute stuff, not for tribute summoning, but for your effects, so might as well do that. Cyclone, Miss It Mine's friggin', it's still not banned yet. 1 Ash, because it's Ash Blossom. I probably should main it, sue me. 2 Lancias, banishing is bad. You don't want your stuff banished in this deck, and a lot of other decks like to banish, so you're just like, no. 1 Regeki, I'd probably put another one in the side if I find a slot. Just great. Shade Brigadine, just for a little extra extension. I know it's kind of weird to put in the side, not the main, but the main's already kind of good enough, but if you need that little extra oomph, it's there. Lava Golem, just 1. If I had to cut anything from the side to make 2, it'd probably be Shade. So Lava Golem's kind of crazy this format. And then 1 Ghost Bell, or basically just running 1 of each hand trap, except for Ghost Ogre running 2. And yeah, just for the interruption. And if I had to main them, I'd probably put Halka-Fabrax in the extra deck just to get that extra special of 1 of the hand traps, just to keep going for extension purposes. But yeah, that is OGDOADIC. Let me put my boy on the top here. Yeah, that's OGDOADIC. It's a great deck. It's fun. It is Extension City, and it's a fantastic deck. So I recommend you try it out. And yeah, hopefully I get better with it. Hopefully I can get some better engines for it, and it'll see a lot of good results. So yeah, this is Dr. Jinzug signing off, guys. Have a good one.